First up this evening, we are going to be honoring our retirees. This evening, we're honoring 50 retirees whose combined service totals 962 years with Jackson County. Each retiree has made a lasting impact through their dedication and commitment. Uh, what we're going to do is we're going to call everyone's name. We're going to step around front. You'll come up, and then we can hear your name, and then we'll send you back to Kathleen. So. First up tonight is Jerry Adams, Kate Emmons,
You can have her. Y'all look this way. This way. And one more, please. Thank you.
Jackie Angel, Anita Bardo, Marsha Banks, Janice Blackwell, Bruce Brooks, Sheila Brown, Samantha Bryson, Ricky Buchanan, Kimberly Kay, congratulations.
Thank you.
There we go. Have one more, please. Thank you.
Gail Cagle, Shelley Caraway, Diane Colley, congratulations. One day. I'll get there.
Look this way. And one more, please. Thank you.
Steve Collins, Julie Creason,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
This way.
Karen Davis, Crystal Deeds,
Congratulations.
And one more, please. Thank you.
Margaret Dubstock.
Good job.
I'm sorry.
No, that was good. I was impressed. I was waiting. I was impressed. You did good.
Was that close?
Oh, you was great.
All
That's
right,
perfect.
perfect.
Yeah, that's how you're great.
There we go. And one more, please. Thank you.
Let's
You've got good time.
Thank you.
Jonathan Fox, Beth Fuqua, Chip Hall.
Congratulations.
One more. You keep talking that time.
Scott Holder, Johnny Hollifield, Christy Hooper, Glenn Hooper, Pamela Hooper, 32 years.
Almost 30.
Almost, just Darlene.
I'm not quite.
And one more. Thank you.
Raleigh James, Catherine Knowles, Barbara Lane, Lisa Lovedoll, Elaine Melton, Wanda Messer, Rhonda Monteith, congratulations.
Congratulations.
And one more, please. Thank you.
Kevin Morgan, Timothy Muff, Jill Picklesmeyer. Picklesmeyer?
Yeah. Okay, close enough.
It was just always a similar. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
All right, look this way. And one more, please. Thank you.
Robin Kahn, Shannon Queen, Bobby Joe Reimer, Kathy Robinson,
Congratulations.
thank you so much.
One more, please. Thank you.
Derek Robinson, congratulations.
Well, we glad you came up and picked up a wheel.
Yes.
Here we go. And one more. Thank you.
Libby Shelton,
Congratulations.
Here we go. And one more, please. Thank you.
Kimberly Schuler,
Okay.
Thank you.
Norma Taylor, Lynette Tripp, Christopher Tyson, Cheryl Williamson, Kenneth Woodring. Last but not least, that's right. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
No, I want to these guys. Okay.
Moving on now to our approval of the agenda. I do wish that we could, or I do seek the table America 250 commitment. We've had some new applications, and I think we should just go ahead and get those vetted, hold off until next meeting, if that's okay with everyone. With that change, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, in a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. None opposed. Moving on now to our minutes from August 5th. We have our regular session and our work session. If there are no needs for any adjustments in those minutes, I'll seek a motion for approval of both sets.
Tell me, Mr. Chair.
In a second.
Second.
All those in favor? None opposed. Moving on now to administrative reports. This week I have nothing to report. Do any of the other commissioners have anything that they'd like to report this week?
No, sir.
No.
Hey, well, we will say something. Human Resources, are you still here?
Kathleen?
Nah, they're not here. They done a good job this past week. I had a small problem. Kendra there, she helped out a whole lot, so I thank them for that.
And we'll move on now to our county manager's report, Mr. King.
This week, a couple of things. We're going to talk a little bit about the project at Whittier at the Drexel. So the building is currently being constructed, so it is elevated at this point, and we're working on phase 2 of that, which is all the trades, electrical and HVAC. We'll be soliciting bids for both those trades in the coming weeks. With that said, we are also going ahead and working on lining up events for next year and the year after. And so we've been working with the Great Smith Mountain Railroad to look at options for train excursions to be leaving out of the Whittier area, and also working with them on some siding for their track on the property. They did receive a grant from NC Rail for that siding. So they're working through that process, but we are looking to partner with them on events. So we'll be seeing that in the next couple months. We're going to be getting some lease agreements and some other agreements, through this process. We've also been approached by several organizations that want to put on different types of events. So we're really ramping that up in hopes that we can get it operational by the summer of 2026. So.
Where does people go to place bids for like HVAC and different things?
It'll be in the paper.
Where's it posted? In the paper? That's the only place?
Yeah, this isn't going to be a multi-prong bid. So what we're doing is each individual trade will be bidded out separately. So it'll be actually to our office here, and it'll be in the paper and on our website that we're soliciting bids for those trades.
And how long is the bidding period open?
It'll be for 2 weeks. Yep.
Okay.
On all these different events, I know, but will you go into some details of how the county will be making monies and things like that? Just so the public knows.
Oh, yeah. Definitely, there's going to be, of course, the initial transaction with the organization. There'll be a transaction there as far as funds coming in, but also the economy, looking at, the room tax, for instance, sales tax, that's all tied together. So all of that money will be coming back into Jackson County.
And if there's an event, didn't you mention one time about a entertainment tax?
Yeah, so if there's a specific train excursion leaving out of Whittier, all of that is considered an entertainment tax, which is a new tax. We don't get any money like that now, so this will be an additional funds coming in for economic development.
That'd be great. Yep. And we're going to be able to. What can we use those funds for as counties?
It's just going to go into the general fund, so you can earmark that for future economic, activities or just general fund.
That's great. That's what we like to hear. We like to make money, right?
That's all I've got.
Okay. All good information. Thank you. First up tonight in informal comments is Sarah Ward. Ms. Ward.
For better or for worse, beauty is something that draws all of us. I've learned through this whole FRL dismantlement mess that the county owns the beautiful building that is up on the hill where our library is currently housed. The library basically rents the building from the county. Okay, so we've got this beautiful building that is being leased to house our library. Well then, I rewatched some of the city commissioner meetings, and I am not a detective, nor have any legal background, nor have any experience in property management. And yet I saw some themes emerge. Here are some pieces that I discovered. From May 6, 2025 meeting, Jennings, there's no reason that our property, the library on it, We can't control what's in it because Fontana's in control. Listen, we make those lease changes if we need at the end of their lease. During this meeting, you were all in agreement that if things don't change, you would vote to end the FRL. However, did anyone submit a book for challenge through the procedure that's currently in place? Well then, I also learned about a leaked email from February 2025 between Macon County Board member Leah Gatson and her husband, Jim Gatson. Part of that email reads, leaving the FRL needs to be discussed extensively by commissioners in Macon and Jackson behind the scenes with a surprise decision to leave when it comes time, just as Yancey voted unanimously to leave their regional system while the regional library director was conveniently out of town. The email goes on to say, we must be ready to paint the FRL leadership as unwilling to serve the community and have proven their desire, control, and activism over service to the public. Paint the FRL as unwilling to serve the public? How? By their endless programs, ability to get thousands of books and DVDs, electronic services such as Libby, free meeting spaces, public Wi-Fi, the use of printers, including a 3D one. The list is vast. Good luck trying to paint the FRL leadership as unwilling to serve the community, as there's only evidence to the contrary. So basically, I've got 3 pieces so far. The county owns the building. It's currently being leased to the FRL, and if the FRL is shut down, now the county can repurpose the building. So once you have gathered these 3 pieces, it's not hard to see that the resulting image is likely that you are after this gorgeous building. You want to repurpose it. It's not about gay books. You want the building. That's what I'm thinking.
Thank you, Ms. Ward. Next up, Michael Paget.
Yes, first of all, thank you guys for your service to the county. I very much appreciate it. There was an excellent article in the Silver Herald by Beth Lawrence, quoting you, Mark. And in there, it talks about some good figures, et cetera, and mentions $70,000 as the accurate amount of money that you've been able to assess so far if the FRL, if we separate from the FRL. It would be great to share whatever those studies are in the financial aspects. I think it would be beneficial. The other one that was shocking to me is the last meeting, there were a lot of comments about, while I was here, about 70% of which thought that the library was closing. And whatever you can do to get out the information, if that's not the goal, I think would have helpful. And the same thing with services. There were a bunch of comments about services and the fear that they would be, terminated. As far as I can tell, that's not the case either. So much of the time of the comments have been spent on this, and it's just, to me, it's just a waste of time. So whatever you can do to try to get the message out continually in the Silver Herald and in any other publications, and then as soon as the $70,000 is quantified, what the sources are that you're using for the amount of money, whether it's 70,000 to the negative or whatever it is, I think it would be extremely helpful. Thank you for your time.
I think it would be good if you went to the Silver Herald and printed your story.
I did this last Thursday.
Thank you, Mr. Paget. Next up, we have Chris Bogardus. Mr. Bogardus.
Chris Coley. I've been hearing a lot about this library consultant position. I understand that no self-respecting librarian would want this job, but I'm not a librarian, and I have my self-respect, but for $70,000, I could let go of a lot of that. $70,000 to buy a nice houseboat with an Evinrude motor. We could all go jet skiing on Lake Granville. That'd be fun. I'm unqualified for this job. I'm an atheist. I couldn't give you a letter of recommendation from a preacher or a priest or a shaman, but I'm pretty sure I could get a bartender to sign me one. I have a library card. That puts me out of the run with most of y'all. I'm computer illiterate, which means I'd have a rough time buying a whole bunch of new computers, new softwares, and wires for a library to fix it up. That would save the taxpayers a lot of money because they wouldn't have to spend any on it. I have 4 total hours of office work experience. I spent 3 of those hours putting stickers on college kids' cards saying whether they were boys or girls, and I think I goofed that up. And I spent 1 hour vacuuming the rugs in that office. I moved the desks and I got the rugs very nice and clean. Jenny, you'd have been proud. In fact, the only thing I would plan on doing if I had this job would be to cash the paycheck. But I'm pretty sure that you could look around this room and find plenty of people that would do this job for absolutely nothing or wouldn't do this job and wouldn't charge you a bloody thing. $70,000 would buy a whole lot of Porta Johns. And you've got the 107 road widening project coming up, and you're going to need them. The easiest thing for you guys to do would be to redo that vote, put this project on hold forever, and get down to the real business of this county. We could have forest fires. The sheriff and the jail are always needing attention. Cashiers people don't get the kind of representation that they really need for the tax dollars they generate. You got a middle school project coming up. We could have another flood. We could have another COVID. And frankly, you got better things to do than play with the bookshelves. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
David Jeffries. David Jeffries.
Okay. Hi. Hi, everyone. It's good to see you all again. I'm sorry I haven't been able to be at your last few meetings. I had other commitments that made it impossible to be here. And in fact, it's been a busy time right now with the Jackson County Public Schools starting last week. In fact, when I looked at my calendar for this week, I said, nope. My first thought was that it would be impossible for me to be here tonight, and I actually decided not to come. However, when I thought about not coming to the meeting tonight when I was in town for the first time in a while, I realized that the Jackson County Public Library and the Fontana Regional Library System have always been there as a resource for me, no matter how busy I was. I can't tell you how many times my family and I have randomly thought about a book or movie late at night, and I've just logged into my library account on my cell phone and put that book or movie on hold. It is super convenient, and if you haven't tried it, I recommend it. So if that item was in stock at our library, usually by about 9:15 the next morning, I would have an email or a text message that my item was ready. And if Jackson County didn't have that book in stock, they would get it from another county's library or from somewhere else through the Fontana system. So because the library has always been there for me, I decided I needed to repay the favor and make time to speak with you tonight. So that being said, I won't go through everything that I know you guys have been hearing from many, many people about all the reasons for staying in the Fontana Regional Library System, which you've heard before. I think if you think about those reasons fairly, you will find them convincing. I'll just conclude by saying that our library is an important part of my family's quality of life here in Jackson County. It's always been a joy to visit the library, talk with the wonderful staff, look at the different exhibits, and explore their bookshelves. And please know that it's not just my family that considers the library to be critical to the quality of life here in this county. So we all urge you to reconsider your previous decision to leave the Fontana Regional Library System. Please make the right choice. Thank you.
Kim M.
Hey, folks.
Yeah, I checked out a couple of books at the library before I came. I don't know if you have, I don't know if you've actually seen the two books. They're the only book titles that I've heard mentioned as being points of contention. So if there are others, we've asked several times to tell us exactly what they're doing that you don't like that's making you make this choice. And the only thing I've heard specifically were these two books. I don't know if you've ever heard the expression, if you want it bad enough, you'll find the way, and if you don't, you'll find an excuse. When the gentleman behind me said the goal wasn't to disband the library, I don't think that's in dispute. That was not the goal, but it was most assuredly an option that was presented because this board has been acting from the get-go with that in mind. If you want it bad enough, you'll find a way. And if not, you'll find an excuse. You want control of that library, and you have done everything you can think of to get it. If you want it bad enough, you'll find a way. But what I'm not sure if you've found a way to do is to go to the library and check out the books and take a look at them or meet with the people at the library. I'm understanding that Mr. King may have recently gone over and done that. I know you had an appointment, Mr. Bryson, but you just couldn't make it work out. I don't know if any of the rest of you have or if you've seen these books, but I've just heard the stories about them, and I wanted to see what they were for myself. First of all, I was surprised to find them upstairs in the young adult section. They were not in the children's section. I had to carry myself upstairs to go get these two books. Second of all, the one book that is supposedly has instructions for how to use a dating site. Okay, I'm going to read one instruction in here, guys. Tell me what part of this is something we don't want to teach children. Never put personal information such as your address or telephone number on the web unless you like being murdered. I mean, there's nothing wrong there. As far as the rest of it, as far as instructions, there's nothing here that says this is how you do this. It specifically says how this app works. Find me a young person that needs to go check out a book at the library to learn how to download an app and make it work. They don't. While we're at it, find me a young person that decides they want to go look at some naughty pictures and they want to go learn about stuff their parents don't want them to learn about. I mean, I don't know much about this, but from society, I'm given to understand that if folks want that sort of material, they might go look under somebody's mattress, under somebody's bathroom sink. They might go to a friend at school. They might go online and find cartoon pictures. But I have yet to meet the kid that I think would go, I really want to see some of these pictures that I'm not allowed to see. Where can I get? Let me go to my library. Let me go to my library and get some dirty pictures. The only person that is going to be picking this book up and checking this book out is a young person who is scared to talk to the adults in their lives. So you're not really necessarily protecting our children, because our children aren't afraid to come talk to us about what's going on in their lives because they know they're not going to be condemned for who they are. And this book here has drawings, not pictures. It's education. Education prevents child abuse, child sexual abuse from predators. It's education.
Thank you, Ms. Kim. Luther Jones.
I would like to address two issues tonight. The first is that at the last meeting, as Keith Blaine spoke to the commissioners, he was drowned out by the audience. Trust me when I state that I believe that 90% of what Mr. Blaine said was pure BS, but he had the right to say it and still does. We do not have the right to try to censor him. And I hope that we will remember that. The second issue concerns the use of taxes in the county. I understand that the county has hired 2 library consultants at a rate of $140 per hour each, plus expenses not to exceed $50,000 per month. What has not been stated is how many months the taxpayers of Jackson County are going to be on the hook for this unnecessary expenditure caused by the vote of 4 members of this council. Originally, it was reported that the county wanted to have the basics of separation of the library from the Fontana Regional System accomplished by sometime in January. If this is the timeline, this may cost the taxpayers of the county a possible additional expenditure of $250,000 that was not in Mr. King's original estimate of separation costs. I asked the council and Mr. King to give us an honest estimate as to what this unnecessary expenditure will be and to justify the expense when we already have people in the current library system that are equally qualified? Now, I'll stand here for the next minute and a half until somebody gives me that answer.
Do we have that answer, Mr. King? Do we have a term for
No,
our
and it was
consultants?
$50,000 for the year. It wasn't per month.
That's not the way it's reported in either one of the newspapers, Smoky Mountain News or the Herald.
I didn't give an interview for that purpose, so they didn't call this off.
Okay, so then we're talking about that this is not going to cost $250,000. It'll only cost $50,000. Is that what we're saying?
For the consultants.
Up to.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Garrett, Craig?
Good evening. My name is Derek Craig. I'm a Jackson County resident and library card holder. Tonight, I'm here to reiterate the recklessness that was your vote to leave FRL. You say you're protecting kids from obscenity, but a child who spoke after your vote told you the truth. You're hurting my favorite place. And what's truly obscene is that your own county manager said the switch would drain $500,000 a year, plus hundreds of thousands up front. Your chair warned about the legal risk and operational challenges. Your constituents showed up in droves, pleading with you to see reason, but stubborn and childish, you cast aside a fruitful 81-year partnership anyway. Now you'll pay consultants $50,000 to teach you how libraries work, an expensive course in humility, all funded by taxpayers. What your decision ultimately achieves, spending more to get less, trading a high-performing nonprofit with 82% program spending and clean audits for an unbuilt bureaucracy, and telling working families, students, job seekers, seniors, and children your access is collateral in someone else's culture war. You showed up late with a blank agenda. You grilled a Navy veteran about what an administrative assistant does. You compared a rainbow book cover to murder. And in that joint session, FRL leaders held your hands, spoke slowly, and underscored what many already knew. You don't know how to run a library, nor do you care to know how. But instead of listening, you got embarrassed. Then you doubled down and earmarked our money for your crash course. NC Cardinal access, interlibrary loans, shared IT, bulk purchasing, trained staff, broadband support. These services and more, now at risk, are the backbone of a thriving rural system. You claim Jackson County can deliver the same for less, but your own data says the opposite. You were told the transition would take years, assets don't simply follow you, that courts elsewhere are already uprooting your move the books tactics. But you ignored the facts and ignored the locals, all in the name of so-called local control. This year, there have been 0 formal book challenges through the existing legal process. 0 challenges. Instead of playing by the rules, you demanded shortcuts and invited First Amendment actions that could bleed us all for years. You were offered compromise and a lawful path. Review the policies, file the forms, let trained professionals and an expert public board do their jobs. But acting like grown-ups would not deliver the headlines you wanted or the building that you want. So now we look forward. We'll show up, organize, and document every dollar wasted, every service degraded, every policy bent to half-baked ideology, and we'll defend librarians who kept kids safe and followed the law while you pandered to outraged outsiders. And as you choose lawsuits over libraries, we'll remember who signed the check. I urge you to remember there's still time to admit your mistake, rescind the exit, and do what our libraries have done for generations, serve everyone.
Alan Lomax.
Alan Lomax, Jackson County resident. Commissioners, history will remember this moment, not for budget or governance, but for whether you stood with the people of Jackson County, or did you bow to the pressure of a handful of radicals intent upon censorship? I come today to urge you to reverse the decision to withdraw from Jackson County from the Fontana Regional Library System. This decision does not reflect the values or the history of our county, and it threatens both our fiscal responsibility and our community identity. Our mountain values have always been rooted in education, literacy, and cooperation. In 1944, Jackson joined Macon and Swain to form the Fontana Regional Library because no single rural county could provide strong, affordable services alone. And with today's technological costs, that is even more true now than it was in 1944, and you know it. The regional model is the only way to provide modern library services, everything from shared IT infrastructures to digital access, without overburdening local taxpayers. Leaving now would not save money. Early, independent, unbiased, and conservative estimates show it would actually increase costs by at least $500,000 annually. As further fiscal evidence of actual costs are coming forward, those early estimates are falling significantly short of the actual costs. So let's be very, very, very clear about what this debate is all about. It is not budgets. As those in support of leaving the FRL have made abundantly clear, this is about censorship. At the June 3rd meeting, a small handful of radicalized supporters of withdrawal equated LGBTQ books with grooming. Yet decades and decades and mountains of research have shown no link between queer literature and abuse.
Thank you, Mr.
In
Lopez.
fact, LGBTQ youth are more likely to be victims of that abuse.
Thank you, Mr. Lennox.
I urge you to reverse your decision. It is the most expedient thing to do, not just for yourself, but for Jackson County and for the future. Reversing this decision to leave
Sorry.
honors our history, protects our children, and safeguards our tax dollars,
Your time is
and
up. Thank you very
restores
much for speaking.
confidence
Who's next
in
on
your
the list?
leadership.
Who's next?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beth Baxley. Evening, Ms. Baxley.
Thank you again for your willingness to listen to the concerns of our citizens. At the last commissioners' meeting, Keith Blaine claimed that the Fontana Regional Library has $2.5 million that has been accumulating for 80 years, an overpayment in just one of their checking accounts. Whether unintentionally or by design, Keith has once again twisted the facts to serve his purpose. I was present, as was Keith, at the last meeting of the Fontana Regional Library Board of Trustees, where Lynn Cody, then finance officer for the FRL, explained that at the closing of the fiscal year in August, $2.5 million still remained in the FRL's one and only checking account from the $4.09 million annual budget. He explained that to close out the fiscal year, all of this money is paid out for renewal of the coming year's software licensing, contracts, services, insurance, bonds, workers' compensation, and the first bills for employee benefits. This allows the library to continue operating without interruption of services as the new fiscal year begins. Nearly all local governments in NC maintain such a fund balance outside of the general fund budget to be used for short-term expenses, unexpected disasters, or other needs not addressed in the general fund budget. The NC State Treasurer oversees these accounts and will send a warning letter if they drop too low. As quoted in the Smoky Mountain News, Lynn Cody stated that a fund balance should be between 40 to 50% for emergency use. The FRL is not squirreling away millions of our tax dollars. This is just how budgets have to work in order to keep any organization seamlessly afloat. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Benson. Dana Dunmeyer.
I am Dana Dunmeyer of Silva. I have, like one of the previous speakers, been thinking a lot about heritage and history. As other speakers have said, the Fontana Regional Library has operated for 80 years. They have provided excellent service to our county and the two other counties. For decades, it's part of our history. For decades, Fontana Regional Library operated a bookmobile that helped farm families get books and magazines. And they have kept up with technology so that we can get books and magazines and many other things in many other forms. But that's part of our history. I've been spending some time with the old archives of the Silva Herald to learn more about the Fontana Regional Library. The vignettes you read are touching, about a boy who sells blackberries to help the library, about the 4-H club that helps move the books from the old library to the new library. Vignettes of our history. It's really important to respect that history. I don't think it's conservative to destroy institutions. I think it's conservative to look at them and reform them as needed. That's what I beg you to do. To give up the economies of scale, and believe me, I was at the Jackson County Advisory Group to the Jackson County Library. To give up and it's going to cost a lot of money, to give up the economies of scale that the Fontana Regional Library provides, it's just not right. To give up the inter-county cooperation that grows out of the Fontana Regional Library. And to give up the heritage. Spend some time with the history of the Fontana Regional Library, and you'll see what I mean. Please vote stay in the Fontana Regional Library. I think as this thing develops, as you listen to your consultant, you'll find out that it's way more complex than anyone thought before and way more expensive. So please stay with the Fontana Regional Library. Thank you.
Chris Hamlet.
A previous speaker touched on my topic of my speech, so I'm passing.
Thank you, Chris. Terry Cole Smith.
Good evening. Smoky Mountain News' August 12th article, Library Consultants Speak on Jackson's Split from FRL, contains some very relevant and new information. Plenty to comment on. I've culled mine to the following. First is to note the amount of money being spent, as others have pointed out, on library consultants to advise on withdrawal. The county plans to spend an amount not to exceed $50,000, with consultants Jeff Hall and Suzanne White each billing $140 per hour. Second, While the credentials for both Hall and White appear quite solid, I've tried to find information on Hall and White Library Consultants LLC to review previous projects they've undertaken, and I can't find anything. I would definitely like to see evidence of their history as an LLC consultancy made public. Additionally, neither appears to have been a financial officer or auditor, and this is a justifiable cause for concern. Third, despite the commissioner's claim that the county can seamlessly integrate their IT services with a new county library system, it will come with a cost. Quote, White added that the county would likely need to develop a new technical services department to handle book ordering, processing, and cataloging, tasks currently centralized through FRL headquarters, and would need to make decisions about outsourcing versus hiring dedicated staff. Fourth, the LLC says it has never tackled this kind of project before. This particular project is new to us, but as retired library directors, we're familiar with the process and we can help, White told Smoky Mountain News. Conversely, Mark Letson was quoted by the Silva Herald on August 6 saying, quote, the firm has led efforts to dissolve other library systems in the state. Which one is it? Fifth, one of the most alarming statements is this one. Hall has also offered to serve as interim director of the Jackson County Public Library, quote, following or at any appropriate time during our transition counseling, end quote. This statement was repeated in an August 13th Silva Herald article, quote, we would also be involved in helping them hire a new library director, Hall said. So either the board has already communicated that they would like to see the current Jackson County librarian ousted, or one of the people being hired to see Jackson County through the process of withdrawal is angling for that job. And why is the Jackson County librarian mentioned and not the cashier's librarian? Additionally, a salary for that interim position is already being named, one that exceeds what the current librarian makes, which I believe is $75,000. Quote, if commissioners take Hall's offer, he will be responsible for day-to-day library operations under the supervision of King at a cost of $7,500 per month, or about $90,000 annually, end quote. Conversely, in an August 6 Silva Herald article, Mark Letson again was quoted as saying he would, quote, love to keep Fitzmaurice on as library director. Yes. Which is it? And if the plan is to oust Fitzmaurice, why is she finding out about it in a news article rather than a face-to-face discussion?
Thank you.
The lack of ethics surrounding this issue is astounding.
Laura Lawfer.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Laura Lawfer. I live in Webster. In the news, Miss White, one of the potential consultants, I don't believe they've been hired yet, was quoted as saying, the key is having a policy that your community supports, White said, and that a policy that also aligns with the library profession and the freedom to read and intellectual freedom. I hope these consultants have the opportunities to meet with Jackson County community members that they espouse to support. We want them to discern that we do want the freedom to read. We do want intellectual freedom that our library supports. I also echo the concerns about the consultant taking on the role as an interim librarian. I do see this as a case of self-dealing. Who gets paid to determine whether or not they should be the interim librarian? That is self-dealing in my mind, and that's an ethical concern. And I was pleased to read that the four of you, I believe, have taken this ethical training that is required. So I really want you to consider that aspect of a consultant being paid to have a librarian leave so that they can move to our beautiful community and be paid $90,000 a year. That seems unethical to me, and I hope you would agree. Okay, so let's see, what else do I have here? I forgot my glasses. Okay, y'all, you've been working hard on this issue and apparently responding to concerns from some of your constituents. And I was in the library this week. I'm there a couple times a week often, and I saw the sign on the digital billboard that said, we have a new policy, we have a juvenile card available. So this is an opportunity. It worked. Y'all said, we need this, the juvenile card option is there. We also have the policy where if folks see books they're concerned about, they can do the paperwork to have those books reviewed. You have those policies there. You have new representation on the FRL board. Please lean into these changes that you have created in response to your constituency. And let's keep working that way so that your constituency is served and the rest of the folks are served that keep coming to you and asking that we maintain this relationship that is obviously very beneficial. You are fiscal conservatives. I believe y'all probably ran on fiscal conservatism, and we keep hearing over and over, this is not a good, sound fiscal decision. So please act on behalf of all of Jackson County. Use that money for our parks, our teachers, and road improvements. Thank you.
John Downing.
Hello again. I'm Tom Downing, and I want to talk about flood maps. Your manager King is going to talk about flood maps and new business, and I appreciate that. That's awesome because, as we all know, we all drive on the roads and we all live somewhere. The rain hits all of us equally, no matter how much it comes down. Doesn't seem to come down enough at my house lately, but
I'll trade you.
But the thing about the flood maps is it tells us where the possibilities are for flooding. It tells us that we can be prepared for our school buses, for our sheriff's cars, even for our own vehicles. And one thing I've noticed a lot all across Western North Carolina, and since Helene actually, there's a lot of sediment on the roads. And you have to ask yourself, where does that sediment come from? Mr. Chairman, it sometimes comes from just natural things like, landslides, rock slides. But Mr. Chairman, sometimes it comes from actual developments where someone has done some grading. And if you don't put a silt fence up on your project, then you're going to have sediment coming onto the road. And if you really cared about children in school buses on the way to school, you would have a silt fence on your project, would you not? Thank you.
Keith Blaine.
Okay, so the first sheet there, I just want to let you know, the highlighted section there, it shows how much the amount is in the Fontana Regional Library Bank Reconciliation report. Shows $2.5 million. Just want to make sure that was clear. There was news that it was like $2 million. So just want to counter that argument. We'll skip over the second page for now. I'll let you read that at your leisure. So this document I've got next is from the Fontana Regional Library. It's authored by Lynn Covey. And he's got information on the year-end, fiscal year-end. What I've highlighted there, it really shows that it's not totally complete. There could be some more checks come in. If you would, flip over to the very first where it says number 1 there. So that is the revenues and the expenses for Jackson County Public Library in the fiscal year 2025. If you'll see the amount that's highlighted at the bottom, that is the net surplus of $94,748, $94,784. So that's the amount of revenue that is greater than the expenses. And that is just for one of our libraries. So that net surplus was revenue minus expenses. And it shows you where all the revenue came from on the prior page there. And it shows that the county appropriations was a little over $1 million, and that's just for the civil library. And then you can see the same thing for the cashier's library. They're on number tab 2. It shows a net surplus of $72,000. So that's $72,000 more revenue than expenses. And so that comes up to over $167,000, where there was a net surplus that was unspent funds that went to the Fontana Regional Library for our 2 libraries. My concern is, where is that money going to go? Since there's only one account that is $2.5 million, my concern is going to stay in that. And I did see an article that Lynn Cody stated that none of the $2.5 million would come back to our county. So that concerns me about that. Thank you.
Susan Barcheski.
Good evening again. Thank you. I actually have 2 concerns, including the FRL project, but I want to start with my concern about the ecology surrounding the Top Cat gas station installation. It's really close to the river, obviously, and I would like for us to be able to evaluate options. If there must be a gas station there, maybe the business owner should pay into some insurance or fund for an inevitable disaster, or possible disaster, I should say. There's just a long history in the U.S. of businesses and corporations wrecking town ecologies and leaving residents holding the bag. Most recent memory of mine about that is the chemical spill train wreck in Ohio in 2023. It's pretty bad. And it costed those residents a lot of money in real estate. And their health. Yeah, their water's probably ruined forever, possibly. And it is your fiduciary obligation, as you know, to protect our tax money today and in the future. So please consider that. And those fiduciary obligations bring me to the next point, which is the Fontana Regional Library choice. After hours of commentary and a sea of yellow, so many people, an army of people speaking against the decision that you've already made, that you seem to have made before we started those conversations, which I should say I appreciate you listening to them, but it kind of felt like lip service for some reasons I'm going to lay out, hopefully. It's not what the majority of us want or need, and it will cost us money to leave the Fontana Regional Library. None of y'all went and toured the library with the head librarian. How can I trust your vetting and the hiring of a consultant or any of the choices you're about to make when you didn't even do the most basic task or even check out and read the books that you thought were so problematic? I don't mean to sound offensive to you, but I'm offended at your choice. And it feels like hinkiness is afoot when I find out things about leaked emails, about, making county residents infiltrating your choices, nepotistic board choices. These are strong words that I'm using. I feel like I have other concerns I'd rather be talking to you about. The board choices that you put on seem to be people who are not interested in understanding the purpose of the library. Maybe they are saboteurs, it seems like, from what I hear. They're dragging their feet. I don't want to point any more fingers. But Jenny Hooper, last time, or not the last time, but if we have to govern our own library, like you said, let us vote on it.
Moving on from informal comments, we have Ms. Fox in our financial report for July 2025.
Good afternoon. I'll go over the highlights for the month of July. The revenues collected to date is $5,425,819. That's 5.18% of budget. The expenditures to date are $8,354,702. That's 8.64% of budget. Currently, at the end of July, the revenues are $2,928,883 less than the expenditures. We do have accounts receivable for FY25 that will be collected after the end of the fiscal year in the amount of $7,096,585. The ad valorem tax collected, $1,630,509. That's 2.88% of budget. And the motor vehicle taxes are at 9.52% of budget at $204,231. The prior tax, $33,062 at 6.61% of budget. We received the sales and use tax distribution in July, which represent April sales. That amount was $91,024 more than we received last July. The Article 46 distribution was $206,425, and the average increase for the fiscal year is 2.53%. We'll still have 2 more months in collections for the sales tax against FY25. The landfill disposal fees collected, $67,884. That's 2.10% of budget. And the prior year disposal fees, $8,181, which is 10.91% of budget. The growth revenues for the month are pretty well on target. Some a little above. The environmental health is 11.09%. The general fund contingency amount balance is $1,563,171. I'd be glad to answer any questions on the report.
Any questions this evening about our tax report for July? Thank you, Ms. Fox. Moving on now to our project ordinance amendments and budget ordinance amendments. Ms. Fox.
Okay. The first item is capital project ordinance. It is for the Jackson County Administration Building Project. The amount that we're anticipating is $18 million for construction. This is on the high side right now. With the associated fees with it, total project cost will be $20,375,000. And that will be from lease or bond proceeds.
Any questions for Ms. Fox? If not, we'll move on. Do I need to go ahead and vote on this now?
You can vote on the same time.
Do all of our consent agenda one time. Move on now to our tax collector and refund reports.
I've got one budget amendment.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. The first amendment is general fund. It's an increase of $1,064,377.04. There is an increase from fund balance of $984,377.04. That includes some carry forward money from the previous year for the Department on Aging building renovations, the emergency management capital outlay, and the state opioid response grant, carry forward on SEC capital, and that's all of the carry forward money. And then there's a transfer to Economic Development Fund of $250,000. We had a U.S. Forest Service grant for the Sheriff's Office and a WNC Bridge Foundation grant for the Health Department. The next one is for the fire tax fund, taking $230,000 out of fund balance for the Cashers Glenville Fire Department for capital outlay. And the final one is Economic Development Fund. It's for property acquisition of $500,000, and the revenues for that would be the TDA grant for Dillsboro and transfer from general fund.
Any questions for Ms. Fox?
Thank you.
We'll move on now to Ms. Henson and our tax collector and refund reports.
Good evening. For the month of July, the current taxes we collected was $1,681,966. Delinquent taxes collected were $45,232. The total collected for the month was $1,817,951.75. There were refunds of $2,007.85 and releases of $401.13. Any questions?
Sense?
Thank you.
If not, I'll seek a motion for approval of the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
A second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Moving on now to new business, and Mr. King and our new flood maps.
So we've been in touch with the FEMA, and they are releasing the new flood maps, and they want a wholly special meeting. And this is mostly an informal meeting, but it needs to be called by the commission. It's not a voting meeting. It's just informational, and it'll be just for the members of the public, and they'll be able to interact with the folks from FEMA and the folks from the state flood planning administrative office. So we are sending out notifications to each individual that has been impacted by the new flood maps, both positive and negative folks. So we're going to send those out, but we are asking that the meeting be held on September 29th at the Department of Aging. We also have been kind of coordinating with municipalities, Webster, Silva, and Dillsboro, to have that meeting all together in one place. So that'll be on September 29th if it's the pleasure of the board.
Have we got a time yet for that, or is that going to be to be determined?
It'll be at 5:30.
5:30. And you said it's going to be interactive. Will people be able to kind of see where their properties are and
Yes.
and how that affects them?
Right. This, like I said, this is informational for the public, and then they'll be able to ask questions directly to the representatives from the state and federal agencies.
I think, do we need to have a vote on that?
Just a consensus will be fine. Yeah.
We need to have it because
Yeah.
it's going to affect some people.
Yeah, and just for the public information, why FEMA maps are important. One, unfortunately, they want the local boards to approve flood maps, and the reason for that is because if you don't, you can't become a part of the National Flood Insurance Program, which kind of governs the ability for landowners and homeowners to receive flood insurance. And so it's very important, one to make them aware of the new flood maps, but also let them know that they can get flood insurance, but that's all kind of back on y'all as far as approving those maps.
Mark it on my calendar. Moving on now to appointments. We've tabled America 250 Committee, so we'll move on down to the Social Services Committee. We've had two applicants for our board. Mr. Weatherford, the Director of DSS, has recommended on there the other day, Miss Heather Baker and Megan Cruz to fill the empty spots of Miss Tucker and Mr. Wolf. If there are no objections to Miss Baker and Miss Cruz, I seek a motion for approval.
So move, Mr. Chair.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. All right. Any questions this evening? We do have a need for closed session this evening for legal and personnel. And is that all we're going into? Okay. So if there is no objection, I'll seek a motion to enter closed session.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Session, no action was taken. With no further business this evening, is there a motion for adjournment? And a second?
Second.
All in favor? None opposed. We are adjourned.